Hello everybody, my name is John Rattigan. I'm the curator of Clare Museum. You may remember last year for History Week I made a video on the Georgina Frost collection, which we had recently received into our collection, and I gave you a brief overview of it. It had not been catalogued yet. Over the last year we've done some cataloguing of the collection. It's quite large and some research has been carried out, but I thought I'd just give you a little bit of an overview of what we've got and maybe a little bit more detail on last year, and with a view to all of this information will be going up online on our website, so you'll be able to access it there. And if there was anything in particular you wanted to see or for research purposes, you could contact us and we could provide access, arrange for access to be, for you to have access to the collection for your research. We've spent most of the year cataloguing postcards, believe it or not. The collection was made up of albums of postcards and photographs, and it would appear that Georgina was an avid collector of postcards, and these were postcards that were sent to her, and also they appear to be postcards that she sent to other people, particularly her brother Mick, who lived in England, because he obviously gave them to her for her album. The postcards are interesting because they tell us little bits of information, and out of context it's often very hard to surmise what they're about. They're like text messages today. It's a real testament, I think, to the postal service of Victorian Britain and Ireland at the time. The people used to send these little postcards saying that they had arrived somewhere or that they were coming home that evening. Some of the postcards were, from Limerick to 6 Mile Bridge, about something that was about to happen later on that day. They were really, it was really a very good postal service. But they're short, and sometimes they're, you don't know what they're about. But they can be broadly broken down, most of them, into two categories. There are postcards that Georgina and her sisters received from her father, Tom. Tom, as you know, if you watched my video last year, which is still on YouTube, he retired in 1915 as the clerk of the petty sessions in Newmarket and Fergus due to ill health, and he spent an awful lot of time going to Lisdoonvarna and spending time in Spa there, and also at the Hydro near Blarney in County Cork. Now, the Hydro, when we researched that, it turns out that was a Turkish bath, a place with Turkish baths in it, and he used to go there for medical reasons. So a lot of the postcards are to his daughters. They're often very affectionate and letting his daughters know how well he's doing. Others then are from family members in England, and they can often provide a little bit of a snapshot as to what life was like for them in England. And we found one which was a curiosity to us. It was written on the 22nd of August 1905. Most of the postcards date to that first decade of the 20th century. And it was sent by Agnes, I think was her sister, and it refers to the Darlaston Wake, and they're staying in a place called Darlaston near in the Black Country of England, and it's a small town, but even today now it's got a population about the size of Ennis, and the Darlaston Wake seems to have been some sort of festival that was held on the last Monday of August every year, which would correspond with the bank holiday weekend that they have in the UK. and she was preparing for this on the 22nd of August. So this was the week before. The neighbouring town, one of the neighbouring towns, had their wake, that weekend, or the week beforehand. So so that's a tradition that was common in working class England that has now died out in that area around the Black Country. So we found that a little bit interesting. And like that, you get little snapshots of what life was like for the Frosts at that time. There's no references to the war of independence, to any trouble or problems like that. They always tended to be very personal, rather than there was no politics involved. In this one now, Tom Frost was staying, was posted to Tom Frost, who was staying in the Ravine Hotel in Lisdoonvarna. Still not sure what hotel that is today, if it still exists under a different name. But that was sent from Dublin. And we had others then sent from with images and sites from all over England, some from the United States. There's a handful from the United States and also from parts of Europe. So those are the postcards. The photographs are quite frustrating in some ways, because you often wish that they're actually in very good condition, and you really wish that someone had, at the time, had written a name or a date on the back that might give you some information about them, about the people in them. This one now is an example of where that has occurred. It was taken in September 1933, and it features a man. This photograph is similar to another one. It seems to have been taken in England, but I'm not entirely sure who the man is in the picture, only that it was taken in September 1933. In this one, we can see Georgina here. That's her there, smiling at the camera. She's with these two other women. There's some really good quality images of other people that are around them in this crowd scene. Some kind of public event. But there's no date on this, and there's no location. We don't know when this was taken, which is a bit frustrating. We have other photographs that were clearly taken at 6 Mile Bridge, and we know that they were taken beside and behind Garna House sometime in the 1930s. We know that Tom Frost died in December 1938, and he's in them, so it was before his death, probably in the early 1930s. And that area around beside Garna House has changed relatively little over the years. It's still very identifiable. Some of the trees are still the same. They're still there to this day. So that's kind of a snapshot of the collection. We're currently cataloguing some albums of, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, carte de visite, French visiting cards. They're basically calling cards, but they look like calling cards, but they have a photograph of an individual on them. And we have a very large collection of those, and we're cataloguing those. Many of them were taken in Limerick, some were taken in Kilkee, with a photographer in Kilkee, and others were taken all over Ireland and in the United States, and in the UK. So we're working our way through those and trying to identify who the people are. But it was very common in those days for people to collect these cards and to distribute them. And it seems that Georgina was one of those collectors. She had a special album for them and everything. So once that cataloguing has been completed, we'll feature that in a future video. So thanks very much. Bye now.